Have you ever been just completely overwhelmed by anger or anxiety or even chronic pain, and you just can't figure out where it's really coming from? Well, we're going to dive into that. So let's start with this really powerful statement. I mean, at first, it sounds a little too simple, right? How can anger, frustration, sadness, how can all of that just boil down to one single thing? Stick with me, because the answer is actually buried deep inside the wiring of our brains. Okay, so let's tackle this first big idea. The idea that your anger is really just fear wearing a mask. And this isn't just some philosophical thought. It has huge implications for how we deal with stress and, how we interact with each other every single day. I want you to picture a tiny little dog just barking its head off at a dog 10 times its size. Is that little dog really angry? Or is it just terrified? The aggression is a reaction, right? It's a defense mechanism. And that's what happens to us when our brain's emergency alarm gets triggered by some kind of threat, and that threat doesn't go away. The fear starts to transform. It hardens, it expands, and it becomes what we call anger. Okay, this is where things get really, really interesting. We've made the connection between anger and fear. But what about physical pain? How does a stubbed toe or a chronic backache possibly fit into this picture? Well, you might be surprised to find out there's a very deep connection. That's right. The very same core mechanism in your brain that generates anxiety is the one that generates the feeling of pain. They aren't two different systems running side by side. They are basically two different outputs from the exact same underlying process. Now, to understand how that's even possible, we have to get to the heart of the matter. Your brain isn't just a passive sponge soaking up information. No, it's an active, predicting machine. And this whole concept gives us a totally new way of seeing how we perceive, well, everything. So this theory, it's called active inference, and it completely flips our common sense view of perception upside down. You don't just see the world. Your brain is making a constant stream of best guesses about what's out there, and then it's using the data from your senses to check and correct those guesses. In a weird way, all of perception is kind of a controlled hallucination. So think about how you see a cat. It's fascinating. Your eye isn't a camera sending a perfect picture to your brain. Not at all. Instead, you have neurons firing for really simple things. A vertical line here, a patch of color there. Your brain gets all this messy, partial data, makes a probable guess. Maybe it's a cat? And then it just rapidly refines and corrects that guess over and over until, boom, a stable image of a cat's face just emerges in your mind. So this predictive system is brilliant for seeing cats. But what happens when this exact same system, which is also constantly guessing about signals coming from inside our own bodies, starts to make mistakes? First, it's so important to get the difference here. Acute pain, that's straightforward. You cut your finger, signals zip up to the brain, and you feel pain. It's a direct report from the field. But chronic pain, that's a whole different beast. It's not a report, it's a system error. It's like a bug in the software. And this is the absolute core of it. For people struggling with chronic pain or anxiety, the brain's predictive model has gone haywire. It's taking normal, totally harmless signals from your back, from your stomach, and it's misinterpreting them. It's making a massive prediction error, guessing danger, when there's actually no danger at all. And the result is very real pain or very real anxiety, generated from a faulty prediction rooted in fear. The incredible thing is that a healthy brain has a very high capacity to ignore. Right now, as you're listening, your heart is beating, your stomach is digesting, but you don't feel any of it, right? Your brain correctly predicts those signals are normal, just background noise, and it filters them out. When that filter breaks, we suddenly become agonizingly aware of our own internal workings, and the brain starts predicting threats everywhere. So that brings up a huge question. Why? Why are so many of us experiencing these system malfunctions today? Why are our prediction machines going so haywire? Well, the answer seems to lie in the nature of our modern threats. For so many of us in the modern world, the brain's emergency alarm system, the amygdala, it just never shuts off. It's ringing constantly, 24/7, keeping us in this state of low-grade perpetual fear. And here's the reason why. Our ancestors, they faced acute threats, like a wild boar jumping out of the bushes. The situation was incredibly intense, for sure, but it was over in a matter of minutes. You either escaped or you fought. But our wild boars today, they're things like entrance exams, project deadlines, your boss, social media. They are psychological, they're abstract, and they never, ever really go away. Our emergency system just wasn't built for this kind of constant, unrelenting pressure. So, if the problem is rooted in these modern, persistent threats, then the solution isn't just a personal one. It has to be societal. It's about changing the very stories we tell ourselves about what a good and successful life even looks like. Professor Kim Ji-won argues that our culture has essentially programmed our brains to stay in that 24/7 emergency mode. We are just surrounded by stories that are designed to create constant, unresolved fear. And here are some of those stories. The idea that your self-worth comes from other people's approval. The belief that a bigger salary is way more important than your peace of mind. That life is a zero-sum game, that you have to take from others to get ahead. These values are the modern wild boars. They are what keeps our fear system firing on all cylinders all the time. The solution, then, is as simple as it is completely radical. We just have to change the questions we ask. We have to change our metrics for success. Just imagine a world where the first question a parent asks their child when they get home isn't "What grade did you get?" but "Were you happy today?" That one simple shift has the power to rewire our entire value system. And so that brings us to the final question, and this one is for you. Your brain is a prediction machine. It is constantly trying to make sense of the world based on the stories it's been fed. So what story are you feeding it? Is it a story of constant fear and competition, or is it one that prioritizes your own peace and well-being? The answer to that question might just be the key to everything.